What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Make It Kustom. I'm Carl Fisher, and this is the 1971 GMC ramp truck build. And this is something that I'm collaborating with Brent from Halfass Kustoms for a few days. He had the great idea to come out and just like work together and try that out. And I think it's going to be an amazing time. So don't forget to check out his channel, Halfass Kustoms. He's in Manitoba. He builds awesome hot rods, all kinds of trucks, cars, whatever. Like, has no preference, just builds really cool stuff. And he does it really fast and has a lot of great tips and tricks. So check him out, Halfass Kustoms. Without further ado, let's get this video going. We've got some problems to figure out. So don't forget to like, click subscribe, hit notifications. Let's figure out this, this whole ramp truck situation. We've got some work to do. Houston, we have a problem. I don't think I can use this chassis. I tried so hard to like really want to use this chassis, and right from the beginning, Elio had concerns, and I kept telling myself that there was a way that we could use it, and it still makes sense, and it's just, unfortunately, sometimes it's just not the right way. Here's why. Okay, I'm gonna flip you around. So, unfortunately, there's enough things going against this chassis for me not to use it. And one major thing is the chassis. You can actually see this. See how the rail kind of goes like that, and then that? You see that? It's actually the opposite on this side. Well, I guess the same. It still goes like that and that. So the frame was welded on crooked. Which isn't a big deal because we could just cut that and maybe extend the wheelbase a little bit. What else is wrong with this frame? Or not so much wrong, but what else don't I like about the frame? I don't like how far in that tire sits. It sits in way too far, like really a lot too far. Now you could do something like I was saying earlier with just changing the offset of the wheels. But it's far enough where it's a lot. So I didn't want to use a 5-ton truck cab or a 5-ton truck chassis for this, and I still don't. And so basically, we don't have a ton of options. And those are the two major things. One, the frame is old, the track width is too narrow, and it's not that strong of a frame. I mean, obviously it's strong enough to be a 1-ton, and I know we overloaded it plenty as a gardening truck. We put tons, like probably 2-3 tons of gravel in the back and dump it with the hydraulics and everything. But if we look under here, there's the cross member. How can I show you this? So there's the front of the frame. You can see underneath that wood there. And all the way ahead of that, where that triangle piece is, that is the torsion bar mount for tipping the cab. So that's the front cab mount. Mind you, it could come up a bit, maybe another few inches, but for an open frame to be that small and need to extend that far to get the front of the cab, which is very, very heavy and under a lot of stress, that will have to be beefed up a whole lot. Whoa. Drunken camera, find yourself. There we go. So that's it. So there are other frames out there that I think can work better for us. One of the frames, I'm gonna turn you. So a couple options if we can find them. I was thinking, okay, well, what about like a cab over frame, like a GMC 4500 Hino style cab over frame? That would be cool. I mean, you could run the diesel that's in it. It would already be configured this way for the steering to work well and be easy to hook up. That's another thing, is that you want the steering to be close to the pivot point of the cab if we want to be able to pivot the cab. Regardless of whether or not I'm going to put the motor under the cab, if I have the option to pivot it off its original mounts, Number one, that's the easiest because I still have those mounts. It's literally two plates in the front and then the mount over the back. That's all it is, literally 2 plates in the front that those hinges bolt onto, where I showed you that triangle with the torsion bar. The other side of that is just a hinge plate. That's all it is. Simple. This is the back of the cab. So there was basically a big kind of squared off piece here that this latch kind of latched into a square hole. There was a square pin that went through there, like a 1-inch square bar sharpened pin. And then there was also another safety latch here. So that's a very simple mount for the back. Like you could just take 3-inch channel iron and just go cut a square hole in it. Pretty much Bob's your mother's brother at that point. So if I can mount it that way, that'll be the easiest. If I want a slightly beefier frame than this without going to 5-ton, there is a chassis that was made for GM vehicles, like apparently it's called an HD 3500 chassis in the OBS era, which would be, I guess, 88 to 98, and they probably made the same chassis a little bit later. But if you see those stubby tow trucks, they would have had a 10-bolt rear rim and a 5 or a 10-bolt front axle, not like independent front suspension. It would be a straight axle. So if I could find one of those chassis, that would be sweet. So there's all kinds of options, right? Short of buying a tow truck, I don't know where I'm going to get one of those chassis. There could be the possibility that one of the Chevy truck parts places locally has one. Dustyroadstruckparts. Whenever my dad's landscaping company, other than this 68 Chevy chassis, all the other trucks, when they get retired, wrecked, overmiled, rusted, whatever, we usually take them to Dustyroadstruckparts, and he basically just specializes in GM truck parts. So everything from 1980, or even square body. Yeah, he does square body, so 73 all the way up. I've even seen him with some 60s vehicles, but right up into LS era, up to even Gen 4, into the teens. So everything Chevy truck, this guy usually has it or knows where to get it. So he might have a chassis. We're going to talk to him. I'll probably end up bringing him this chassis because I've got no use for it, and he's a good dude. So if I bring him stuff, then usually we get better deals on other stuff. He's good like that. So we're going to go visit Dusty. We're going to see if he's got a solution to our problem. If he's got some kind of GM chassis that's going to work better for us than this, hopefully with a wider track width. The other thing is that even the 1-ton chassis of newer eras, OBS being 88 to 98, apparently have a wider track width than this 60s chassis. So even there, you know, I know that Dusty scrapped out one of my dad and my brother's OBS quad cab long box 1-ton trucks, which would have a wider track width than this. What I'm trying to say is this frame's messed up. We've just got to move on from it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull the cab off. I'm going to load this chassis up onto the trailer. I'm going to go see Dusty, see if he's got a solution to the problem for us. If not, then I'll probably just drop this chassis off there anyway and come back with an empty trailer and just start looking. Motorhomes is another idea. There's some, you know, motorhomes as well that would have that flat front steering box in the front type situation as well. So we've got options, but it ain't this one. So that's what I'm going to do. Just get to work. All right, here's the guy right here. This is Dusty Rhodes. He's got everything Chevy truck, like 73 and up, all the way to Gen 4, anything LS stuff. They always do a lot of LS swaps here too, so hopefully we're gonna find a chassis. You still have my dad's old chassis too, right?
Yeah, we have a number of chassis, lots of long wheelbase 1 tons. We always keep those. Short beds, all that kind of stuff, all the sought after stuff. We always try to keep the chassis, rolling chassis. And that.
So I kind of need either an OBS 1-ton chassis, or if we can get one of those HD chassis. I don't know. Like, we've got a truck that's got like the solid axle front. It's really beefy. Yeah. And that would be ideal because it's super wide.
We did part out a wrecker tow truck that had a big 1-ton chassis like that. Dana 80 in the rear, 4-wheel discs. And I'm pretty confident it's still around too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Can we go have a look?
Yeah, let's have a look.
All right, let's see. Stacked up in the back 40, I guess?
Yeah.
All right. Let's check it out. That would be ideal, man. I mean, they're like a good foot wider, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're way beefier too.
Oh. Fire somewhere. There you go. That's what you need. 24s. All right, we're gonna go find this frame. If it works out, we'll load it up and get it back home. But Chevy Truck Stuffs, this is the guy. All right, here's the frame. We got it back in the shop, and let me tell you, this is kind of a unicorn for our situation. The frame is better in so many different ways. It is a thicker frame material. This is 1/4-inch wall frame material. It's taller web, so the height of the frame is 10 inches, not 8 inches. On that other frame, it got down to 6 inches over top of the rear axle. This stays 8 inches. It has a doubler plate, this massive extra stamping, which is another 1/4 inch on top of the 1/4 inch frame. So it is just beefy, beefy, beefy. The whole front of this chassis is fully boxed and welded, completely seam welded the entire way. So there is so much more strength in this chassis. This is an HD 3500 chassis, came from a tow truck, like wrecker body tow truck that would have had a wheel lift. It's got Hydro Boost on it already. Like, that is the braking system that we would want, and all the lines are still fine. It's all still hooked up. It's got 4-wheel disc brakes all the way around. Dana 80 rear end that I think is like a 15,000 pound kind of GVW type capacity. It's epic. The front straight axle is way wider, fits the cab much better. It's still in a little bit, which is fine. But it's like a solid 10 or 12 inches wider. I think it's actually 12 inches wider. What else can I say? Oh, another thing that it solves is our steering situation. This steering box steers left and right on the straight axle, and there is a cross link connecting the two. And then the drag link from the pitman arm to the passenger spindle actually doesn't go to the spindle, it goes to a hole in the drag link. So my idea is to take this steering box off, flip it around this way, mount it down on the front of the frame so that it steers as a push-pull style box, which is what this chassis would have had, and where the steering column comes down is very important, and it has to have the box up here so that when the cab tilts, because we are going to tilt the cab now, now that we have all this structure in the front of the frame, like, it's going to be much easier for us to make it a tilting cab, have the steering box in the right location. We're going to build a pitman arm off of, not a pitman arm, but a steering arm off of the driver's side spindle, off of these massive bolts here. We'll make like a 1/2 inch thick fabricated plate arm so that we can steer with the box up front. So basically, in my head, I can use this steering box and all the parts that are here, including shortening the actual link itself and reusing the tie rod ends, and we're gonna have our steering solved. So I'm really looking forward to using this chassis. I feel like it's the best move. The gas tank's already mounted. There's already fuel lines. Like, we're killing so many birds with only one stone. So now I'm gonna cut these off because I know that they're in the way. I'm gonna cut off these body mounts, and we're gonna pressure wash the chassis and have a nice fitment underneath that cab. Let's do it.
it's connected to the body.
What are you talking about?
So when this pops up,
Yeah.
it literally torsions the whole thing because this is the mount on the frame. Holy. And then I'm assuming there's a clamp that goes here, and then a clamp that goes there.
Yeah, there's a clamp here that is the...
Yeah, but on the chassis side.
Yeah, so the chassis side is a clamp here.
So this just torsions
And
this
then-
1-inch bar that
Yeah. This one, well, this is like the same torsion bar as like...
also pivots off of it.
Yeah, it's also the pivot. It's the fulcrum and the spring
Yeah, in
for
one.
this all at once.
No, I just, dude, it's caveman and simple.
Yeah,
but
like
it's
it's a tiny little bar
Yeah.
that's doing that much work. It seems crazy for, that's what you mean, like,
Yeah.
how it's just a simple little torsion bar that
Yeah.
is the pivot and it is the spring.
And then it rests on those two little pads.
Yeah, so basically if we mount the front hinges,
Yeah.
then the cab mount is done in the front. And then the back is just two rubber pads that sit on that cross member, and then a square hole that the hook clicks into. And then there's also an alignment pin. Like, that's it. Easy peasy, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say easy, but straightforward. We're gonna have to set up these mounts and then... There it is! That's it! Way more better, right?
Way better.
Heavy duty. Sits low on there. Like, that's probably where it's gonna sit. Okay?
I believe so.
Is the back down? Or is it still on the forklift?
I think it's down.
No.
It is kind of nose diving right now, eh?
Yeah.
Like the cab.
And then the cab has to go back just a couple degrees.
The frame is also very high in the back. Like the very back of the frame, considered to in front of the wheels, is probably the same angle as the cab.
Oh, you think the frame's got a good angle on it right now?
Yeah. Just because there's no weight on the back.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. That's like almost the same. Well,
It's like 3/4 over that.
Yeah, it's pretty close. But a little bit.
Yeah, I think once the back goes down.
Back's, yeah. Back's starting to come down a lot.
Yeah. Well, even just once before Lincoln and bag it right there, you're gonna probably lower it 6 to 8 inches.
bring a lot to the table, okay?
All right. This chassis, I tell you, this chassis was the right move. I'm so lucky that Dusty had one in the yard. That's just, what a fluke, because I know I can use the steering box. All that stuff is just, oh man, Hydro Boost, gas tank. It solves so many issues for us. It's wicked, and it looks good on there. Like, this major heavy-duty chassis looks like a lowrider chassis on this cab. But I think it looks good. Like, it sits right. The space that I've got in the front here is about 8 inches, and that's about the suspension travel if I were to do a little bit of tweaking on the front end, because I do plan on air riding this. So that cab is placed vertically on the chassis with thought. Like, this amount is the amount of suspension travel that I have from this point, so I know I'll be able to touch the ground when we air ride it at a later date. But disc brakes all the way around, all 4 corners. It rolls nice. I know I can use that whole steering assembly and bring it to the front now that everything is sat where it is. Actually, I did a little bit of work that I didn't film. Kyle and I, last night, he was over, we were hanging out, and we just aligned the cab. You know, we aligned it this way and we aligned it this way. So it is exactly where it's gonna be, except it will be tipped back a little bit. Like right now it's tipped forward a little bit, but since the front mount is a hinge, I'm not worried about that 1 inch of fuss that it needs to come down in the back. I'm ready to make that front mount next. But this is it. Like, I think I'm gonna end the video here, because the next the next part of this is building all that mount situation, and I think that that's gonna be a lot of work. Oh, I just slipped in a little bit of oil. But yeah, very happy with where it's at right now. It seems like working with a big truck is almost easier just because of how much room there is. There's just so much room to do whatever. Like, how simple the mount is in the front. I mean, it's not totally simple, but I can show you guys here. This is the hinge assembly. This hinge assembly is like a cast iron piece, and it has like an L shape to it at the bottom where it used to mount on the frame rail. It's kind of on a weird angle. It would have been a weird bracket. It has this arm that is the torsion bar arm. Like, this is the torsion bar that goes across. When we tilt the cab forward, this will turn with it, and we'll be able to bolt it tight to this tooth pattern slot. That will lock the torsion bar in place when the cab is tilted forward, so that when it comes back down, it loads the torsion bar and doesn't slam back down. That's how a driver could actually tilt this whole huge heavy cab on his own, is because of this torsion bar setup. It's actually kind of neat. You know, I respect the engineering in there, because the torsion bar itself is also the pivot point. So this cast piece at the top, this is connected to the frame and the subframe structure of this cab, and it all comes down to this piece. This is bolted on loosely, like there's play in here and a grease nipple, because this is the turning hinge of the whole front of the cab. Like, let that sink in. There is no other mounts other than the back of the cab. So everything is on that, and everything is on that. This other side is asymmetrical to the driver's side. It's totally different. So basically, I'll have to have a very strong bracket to hold on to these mounts and connect it to the chassis. So luckily, this is another great thing about this chassis, is it's a boxed frame rail in the front, whereas the other one was just an open C channel, and it's thicker material. This is a 1/4 inch outer boxing plate. So my main structure, I can build off of this and be confident that it'll be able to handle the weight, because it's a 1/4 inch plate. I'm gonna probably come with a bracket off the side of this forward, something vertical that allows me to mount my bumper, and this main structure vertical plate I'll build off of to get this mount. Same thing on the other side, and then within this structure, on the inside of it, I have to mount the steering box somehow. So it's going to be mounted kind of like this, vertically, and this is the steering box from this chassis. It's going to work just fine, and the arm is in the right spot. So if I mount this where that plate I was just talking about kind of splits the steering box here, I should be pretty close. Maybe I might have to get a different pitman arm, but I should be pretty close to being able to convert this to the push-pull style steering that I was talking about. So now this arm, instead of going across and steering across, it's gonna steer forward and backwards, and I'll have to build a bracket off the top of the driver's spindle. Just an arm that comes out from the spindle. See, there's an arm here that has a bar that goes across for the track, or cross link. Now I'll have to build a bracket that comes out from that spindle with a ball joint that comes forward. So I'll connect the end of this drag link forward and backwards. That is the plan. Anyway, I've been bambling on, but this is the plan on the front. I like how now we've got everything situated. You can actually look at it, visualize it, try and figure out how to attack that problem in the front. And then the back, like I said, that hinge, that's all there is in the front. And then the back is just this latch. There's these two pads, they sit on these little rubbers. And then there's a square hole in just a bar, like a bar that has to go from the frame up, across, down. There's an extra safety latch there that just would hook onto a little tab. And then this hole up inside here was just like a locator pin. It was just a sharpened piece of 1 inch square bar. So very simple. Cross member that goes across, top down, has locator pin in it and a little square for the latch, little safety latch there, but that's it. Just like a nothing little piece. And then we're done. Like, that's it for cab mounts. It's actually pretty simple, you know, when you break it down. So hoping to get that done ASAP. If I get that done before Brett gets here, that would be amazing, because then between me and him, I feel like we can get, you know, like maybe we can attack C-notching the back at this point too, like C-notch the back, extend the wheelbase, mount motor and transmission, get it running, put some wires in it. You know, who knows what two guys can do in a shop for 4 days when there's nothing stopping them. So I got to make sure I got all the parts here and everything. But anyway, that's that. That is the best thing I could have done. We did all that work on my dad's chassis, but this is the better route. And very happy and thankful for Dusty Roads for hooking this up. And thanks a lot for watching Make It Kustom, everybody. I'm really, really excited for how many people are into this build. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and it's kind of adding a bit of diversity to the fleet, more or less. If you are looking for another way to support the channel, Custom Crew membership is $5 a month. You get a little badge by your name. You get 15% discount on the website, and that's it.
Doesn't make sense. Okay.
This is a little bit of bonus content for you guys. You see the smoke in the air? This is the end of our 5-day push together. We did you know, a bunch of videos for you guys on building the ramp truck. This is Brent from Halfass Kustoms. He's coming. He'll be in the next video, and he's basically staying with me for 4 whole days, 4 days, and we just burned on this thing, and it did a burnout. So there's lots of stuff to see in the next 4 videos. So this will be kind of like your December footage. Definitely go check out Brent's channel, Halfass Kustoms, and he will be dropping videos as we are dropping videos. He's got the other half of this whole series dropping on Halfass Kustoms channel. So that's it.
Check it out.
Don't miss it. It's gonna be wicked. Thanks a lot for watching Make It Kustom, everybody. Don't forget to like, click subscribe, hit notifications. That stuff all helps the channel. If you want to help the channel in another way, there's the Custom Crew membership. You get a little badge by your name so that I can search them in the comments to make sure that I get after those guys. And then also you get 15% discount on the website merch store. So there's your $5 a month right there in a, you know, one order. Anyway, appreciate you guys very much. This is it's been fun and really stoked on this project. So we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.